So my name is Miles, and my topic is about the how I built a network in my home. This is my network rack pictured here with all the equipment in it, and I'll be getting into what everything is and um, why everything's there throughout the presentation. All right. All right. So about me first, I'm a cybersecurity and technology enthusiast. I've been working in IT for over 10 years. I'm a ValpoHacks volunteer organizer. I hold multiple certifications from CompTIA, and I'm an all-around geek. All right, so I guess the question is, why would I even want to do this in the first place? You can just install a Wi-Fi router and connect all your devices, and it's a lot easier. So why would I even want to do this? Um, So wired connections generally have faster speeds compared to wireless connections. Wired connections are more reliable because they are less likely to experience interference by other radio or wireless signals. And wired connections are more secure as well. Wi-Fi can be attacked by anyone within the range of the wireless signal. If somebody's going to attack or hack your wired network, they're going to have to find the an open port somewhere. They're going to have to actually plug into your network, and that's going to be a lot more harder to do. All right, these are um, most, if not all, the components I use to make my network, and I'll go over them briefly. So all the equipment has to come back to somewhere, and that would be this network rack this gets mounted up on the wall. This is where most of this other equipment gets installed into it, as you saw in the first slide. And all the wires that get run throughout my house, they all run back to this where they all get patched into to this patch panel here. And that's how they all become part of the same network. Well, actually, they get patched into this, and then they get connected to this switch, and that's how everything gets joined and becomes one network. And then, of course, I needed cable, so I just bought a 1,000 feet bundle of network cable. And I completely forgot to explain this. So this is a 15U network equipment rack. What that means is the U is just a unit of measurement. I don't think that's short for anything. I think it's just literally called U. And you can kind of see on the side here, there's a dot for every, for you to basically put all these in and screw them in. But yeah, each of these are 1U in size, and I forget what that comes out to in inches. There are things that are bigger, like 2U or 4U in size, like some servers if you were coming that size. But basically, that's what 15U is. I can put 15 devices in here, or pieces of equipment in here that are 1U in size, which everything I have is 1U in size. Include this too. All right, and then there's the rack because I have other devices I want to put into it. You also saw that in the first slide. And power surge, you got to plug everything in, get power, and then you just want to make sure that it's all protected too from electrical surges. And then there's Ethernet cables, or network cables, all over the place. The really short ones are called patch panels or patch cables. I'll just go back to the first one. So that would be like these really short ones are usually called patch cables because they're just going from the patch panel to the switch. And then in the rooms where we have the ports, basically you use the, sorry, I got my camera on the way here. So you put a mounting bracket into the wall, and then you can put, you screw on these network jack wall plates, and you'll insert these jacks where you'll terminate the cables onto these. And then so the ones I got all came with 3 openings. I did not run 3 cables to every room. So I got an insert to cover up the holes that I did not use. And you'll see that later on too with the other pictures I have. I needed quite a few tools. Some of them are pictured here. I had a drill and the attachments, a whole variety of different screwdrivers, socket wrench set. This is a jab saw, which was used to cut into the drywall. A couple of ladders, well, or I guess 1 ladder and 1, I don't know, that's kind of, I guess it's a really big step stool. I'm not quite sure what the actual name of that is. And then levels, to make sure that when I installed things that everything was level. Cable crimper. Actually, I'm not sure why I put that there, because I didn't actually need the cable crimper, but it came with the network tools I purchased. Punchdown tools, which are these 2. Basically, you use these to punch down to terminate the wires onto the patch panel and the network ports. And a cable tester, which is this guy here. Once everything's patched down, we can use this to test the cables. The fish tape is this guy here, and I'll have another picture that, but basically it just straight up trying to run the network cables through the walls would be really difficult, and fish tape makes it super easy to just, you run that through the walls, and then you tape the cable to the end here, and I'll have a picture of that too, and then you just pull back on the fish tape and it brings the cables with it. And then magnets, and these I use to help find the studs in the wall, and I'll show that too. And most of the stuff I did get from Amazon. I think the exception here was the fish tape I did get from Menards. And a friend. So this is my friend Tim, who helped me with this project. This would have taken way too long without a second pair of hands, especially when actually running the cable, because to run the fish tape up and then go into the attic and move it again, and then down into to the wall again, out into the next room, would have taken way too long going up and down the ladder. So it helped to have him in the house and me in the attic when doing that. I did not want to assume anybody, some construction terminology terms, I didn't want to assume anybody knew what I was talking about when I use certain terms. So real quick, studs are the vertical wood pieces that make up most of the wall's frame. So these pieces going up and down. I had to drill into these or avoid these depending on what I needed to do. And then the top plates are these horizontal wood pieces on the top ends of the studs. Running the cable, I did have to drill into these. And then drywall is just, it's the type of board made from plaster, wood, pulp, or other materials used especially to form the interior walls of the house, which I did have to cut into that as well. All right, so actually getting on to what I did. So I decide how many cables I was running and which rooms they should go to. I decided to have 3 cables run to my living room and 2 into our spare bedroom. These cables would run through the walls and the attic. to my office where the network rack is mounted, or yeah. And I did not put any, I didn't run any to my office because the network rack's already in my office. So just for any devices in here, I just kind of plug them directly. Ooh, excuse me. I just kind of ran the cable neatly down the edge and along the side of the wall to like my computer or any other devices I have set up in my room, in my office. And then I also need to figure out where on the walls to make the openings for the cables to go to. So that's where I'd put the panels for the network ports. For identifying studs, I originally was trying to use a stud finder, and I was having, I don't know if it's just because I bought really cheap ones, or because I bought two of them and both of them did not seem to be working well. And someone suggested to me to try magnets. So I bought these orange magnets. And I actually found these worked a lot better. And what I did was I just ran them along the wall until I found where the actual nails are in the wall. So now not only do I know where the studs are in the wall, I also know where there's already a nail or screw or whatever's holding the drywall in place. So now I can avoid drilling into those exact spots, but I know where the studs are. And basically, I need to know this because I need to um, make an opening for the the I'm drawing a blank, for where the network ports need to go. I need to make sure I'm not cutting directly into the studs. And then for when I put up the equipment rack, I actually have to drill into the studs to hold that up there, and put bolts in them. So it's very important to know where those are. So the magnets I found worked very well, and then I just used a pencil to mark exactly where all those were, lightly, so I could erase it afterwards. And then the top plates. So trying to figure out exactly which top plates, and that's my buddy Tim drilling down in one. So we had to do a lot of measuring and remeasuring just to make sure we are getting the right spot, because you want to make sure you're drilling not only into the correct wall, but in between the two studs you want to, like you want to, because these are up above, you want to make sure you're drilling between the correct two studs that you're intending to. So we did a lot of measuring, a lot of remeasuring, until we got it right, before making any holes anywhere. So yeah, it was actually kind of a little bit terrifying. It's because I'm still somewhat of a new homeowner, and putting holes in your house can be a bit worrisome if you mess up. So, but thankfully we got everything right. So I'm happy about that. And then we of course have to make the openings for the wall plates. And we just, using a level, just drew like the bottom edges, and then drew basically you have to draw the shape of this thing here. Oops. So this goes in the wall, and it kind of just, you kind of, this part, and there's another one beneath, kind of hold it in place, then you just tighten it with these screws. And what you do with that then, once you cut out the hole and make sure it fits in there perfectly, you can just, this matches on top of it, and you can just screw this into place with your network ports. And of course you got to cut out the drywall using your jab saw. Once you have the holes in the top plate and the holes in the drywall, you get to run that cable. It's really nice because I didn't have to measure out any cable. I'm actually still not sure how much of this I used, because literally I just take just start pulling cable out from here. And well, I'm getting a lot ahead of here. So of course, first I run the fish tape. For every run I did, first I started in my office and put the fish tape. Well, I should say Tim ran the fish tape up into the attic from my office, and then I pulled the fish tape across the attic. There's some nice, I'm actually not sure what we call this, but it supports the roof, these things. And I just ran the fish tape between these. Since there's no walkway there, it's just a nice place for all the cables to rest. And then down into the top plate, where he would actually use those magnets again to catch the end and pull it down to the opening that we needed. And then he would take the cable, pull the end out, tape it to the other end of this fish tape, and then all we had to do is pull it through until the one end was in my office, and then then we just cut the cable at the other end, and you had exactly the size you needed. We give it a little bit of slack too, just in case anything ever has to be adjusted and moved in the attic for any reason. I'd give it an extra foot or two, rough estimated. But yeah, so I did that every time for every cable we ran. And then you can see this at two different ends. So this is in my living room. You can see where that bracket is, and then you can see the cables coming out. And then in my office here, you can see them coming out at this end as well. All right, mounting the network rack. Not sure if I was supposed to add stuff here or not. If I was, oh well. So this is where, instead of avoiding the studs, I absolutely had to know where they would be located, because I had to. This thing is going to be heavy, and the drywall absolutely will not support it in any way. So I had to bolt it. You can see into the wall onto the studs, because there's going to be enough weight here that you want the studs to hold it up, not the drywall. All right. Once that was up, we had to actually connect the wires to the cable to the patch panel. And I guess this is a good place to explain exactly what these cables are made of. So these cables are made up of 8 wires. Hold on one second. Excuse me. All right, so, and they're color coded. These 8 wires, they're copper wires, and they are color coded. So the 4 different colors, and then there's a striped version and a solid version. And there's a particular pattern that these have to go in. Thankfully, these patch panels and the network jacks as well make that very easy to figure out where exactly you have to put those. And basically, you cut open the ends here and pull the wires out and spread them out and put them in the appropriate groove. And then that's when you take these punch down tools and just kind of push them into place. I prefer this kind of punch down tool because it actually does a click when it's pushed down all the way, so you know you got it in correctly. But if you don't have one of those, punch down tool, that small one like this works as well. And that's a picture of it from the other side, how it looks from when you're standing normally by it. All right, and then this is the other end. I did not take any pictures of the cable punch down into these network jacks, but you can kind of see on the side here how it's color coded. These are the grooves that the copper cables would go in as well. So here's the one in my living room, and I labeled them as well. Once it's all put together, how it looks. And then this one too, you can see how I didn't use all 3 openings in here because I only ran 2 cables. So I used this insert to kind of cover it. Looks nicer that way. At least I think so. And then once we've got everything punched down, we tested it with, and this is just called a cable tester. And what this does is it's sending a signal. So you plug in, there's 2 parts to the tester. What you see over here is this part, and then this goes to the other end of the cable. And it's just testing every single one of those 8 copper wires. And you can see I get a green light on every single one. And we actually got this to work on our first try, which I'm very happy about. I was thinking we'd have to redo this a few times to get it right, but thankfully for the first punch down worked every time for every cable. And then of course we had to test it. So we tested it with my PS4. We connected it to the internet and ran in a the PS4, you can test your internet connection, and everything came back successful, gave us our speeds, which I really wish I had taken a picture of, or I really wish I had done a test just on the Wi-Fi so I can compare, but I forgot to do that. I'm putting this together. And yeah, so that worked on the first try as well. And it was very exciting. All right, and then putting everything else together. So installing the rest of the components for the network rack, the network switch we put in and plugged everything into that, and the surge protector we installed, and then a variety, of course, the huge variety of network cables. You can see on the side here where I just ran the cables down the edge, and that these run to my computer and a Plex server I've got and some other stuff. And then once that was done, I added all my other devices. So so this is a firewall right here, which I can do a whole talk on that probably too, but I'll spare you this time. And then there's my network attached storage, or NAS for short. This is my Hue hub. I've got Hue lights out in my living room because there's no other lights in my living room. So I had to install those. I've also, not in the picture, is my desktop and my Plex server and a few other machines I have just for messing around with other projects. Yeah, and that's it, I think. So yeah, thank you for listening. Are there any questions?
I have one, Miles.
Sure, go for it.
So 2 questions, I guess. How much time did it take you for the install? And then if you're brave enough to admit it to us, how much was the cost in general about for everything in that system? We won't tell your wife.
So, well, she'll probably, she might know already anyways. So the time it took, it's kind of spread out because I started planning, like, I actually started planning all this before I even had the house. So just
Brave
like,
man.
yeah, but I just making an Amazon wish list and figuring out everything I would need to order, but as far as once I've had everything, it took us roughly, well, I don't want to, well, we did it over the span of 2 days, but it wasn't like it was like a full 16 hours every day. I want to say the first day we did over a weekend. So that Saturday, we spent a few hours just like measuring everything, making sure that before we cut into any holes or make drill any holes, anything like that. We spent a long time just measuring everything, just to be extra sure.
Got it.
There's actually, let me find a different picture here, because okay, so my first project before this was putting up my TV on the wall, and if you look closely, you can see where I made mistakes already. So I wanted to be extra sure that I got it right this time. Thankfully, when the TV's up, you don't see those holes. Okay, and then as far as cost, I would say, and I was not good about looking for sales, and waiting to buy stuff, but I think it cost me roughly around $400 for everything.
Oh, that's not bad.
Not bad.
Yeah.
I was gonna bet it was more.
I mean, once you add in, I'm just saying that's just for like the network components of all this. That does not include the firewall or any IoT devices or my storage or any of
Is that stuff you had all before, basically?
The NAS I had before. This I got this is the Hue Hub for the Hue lights. I got that before I set everything up because there's no, I basically, that was like the first day I moved into the house. We realized we needed something because there's no actual outlets or not outlets. There's no power switches for the lights in my living room, whether you come in through the back door or the front. So coming home at like 6 in the fall when it's dark out and trying to stumble into the middle of the house, we had to, I basically had to get that right away. So that was, I guess I got that around the same time, but I was set up before I did all this. I did all this last year in December, just till.
Got it.
So I've had this all set up for about a year. And then the firewall, I actually was in afterwards thing. I did that in the spring. Bought that, built it, configured everything, set it up. So that was afterwards.
Hey, Miles, just out of curiosity, what kind of hub and firewall did you have? I can't see the logos.
What kind of what now?
What firewall?
Firewall and switch.
So the switch is a TP, let's see. I forget the exact brand of it. A TP Link. And that's just a 16-port gigabit switch, unmanaged. Nothing too special there. And the firewall, the hardware, it's called Protect League. And the operating system is it's a PF Sense firewall.
Okay, so is that like a little Pi or something that you configured as a firewall?
It's not a Raspberry Pi. It's I mean, it's kind of like a mini computer. It's got all the components. It's got RAM. It's got an SSD. It's got all that good stuff. I could put a wireless network card in it if I wanted to, but I don't. But yeah, it's just a little small piece of hardware meant for something simple like a firewall.
Cool, thanks.
Question.
Yeah.
Actually, a couple. Easy one to start. Did you guys wait till the spouse was elsewhere before you went for the walls? And would you recommend doing that if you did?
So she was not. She was very worried the whole time. And which, you know, that's fine. She's also a new homeowner and doesn't know what's happening. And I don't think she quite understood at the time what I was trying to do.
I just thought I should ask because that's a thing.
So yeah, she was definitely concerned. But yeah, no, she was home when that all happened.
Brave man, you. Which Cat 6 flavor did you use? Because some of them are notably easier than others.
What do you mean by flavor?
There's usually like a letter after, like E or higher, I think. I don't remember exactly. Or would you just whatever was handy?
Called different flavors.
There are different. It's mostly about shielding level.
Yeah, I didn't really pay attention closely to that. I just got Cat 6, whatever was.
Okay, that's probably, I want to say that's E, but
yeah, I just got whatever was a good price.
Okay.
So I do have a very long network cable that is, I forget exactly what, a shielded one.
Okay.
Because there was, in case, I was hoping, to have people over and have LAN parties, which would have to take place in my garage, but that's a separate, so I have a separate shielded one that that I can just run through my backyard, no matter what the weather is like outside. So.
Okay.
So
I think I found your box on Amazon actually.
Box? Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's the unshielded.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think I got, because I didn't quite see the point of getting the shielded stuff for inside the house.
The shielded has the reason I was kind of curious is the shielded stuff. There are certain speeds you might need it for, but it's also got the downside that it's a lot harder to maneuver. It does not want to bend as readily as the shielding actually makes it more curse worthy to get it in the walls as its reputation. I was hoping you would try the bad one so that I could find out how bad it really is.
Oh no,
because I've heard this, but I haven't actually tried it. Final weird geeky detail question: how heavy is the rack? I've never actually had to pick one up.
So
I've only used the rolling variety.
The rack itself is not heavy.
Okay.
Honestly, it's just when you add all that equipment into it.
Yeah.
And obviously, once I've done that, it's already mounted, so I can't say if what it's like to lift that.
Okay, so the rack wasn't too bad because I've done the full the refrigerator rolling ones.
The rolling ones are very heavy if you ever have to lift one off the ground.
Oh yes, I've had to move those.
Not a fan.
At my last job, because we rebuilt our building and we had to roll those all the way across the building.
Not fun.
No.
Especially when you do realize the wisdom of putting the ups in the bottom, though. and really, because nothing says bad day like it wants to keep moving after you think you've stopped it.
And your disk drives, right?
Yeah, that too.
Heavy stuff on the bottom.
Okay, thank you, Miles. That was cool.
Well, you're welcome.
So
very cool.
What's the
Yeah, that was really cool.
Next,
I liked it. Really informative.
what's the